Welcome to Cooking with Corey, part of the 402 Outdoors exciting new adventure on making our own outdoor food for both survival, camping, anything like that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to try something new, something I've seen done a little bit but haven't done myself, but been thinking about it for a while and finally have all the equipment to do it. So we're going to start to dehydrate and powder our very own eggs. We're going to take these eggs, we're going to crack a bunch of them open, we're going to whip them up in the blender, which you see here, and then we're going to go ahead, put them on the dehydrator tray and see if we can go ahead and make us some powdered eggs in the end. Show you a really cool way to vacuum seal them into individual sized portions so they're pre-measured, ready to go for you. So let's get started, have some fun. Time to crack some eggs. Alright, so we made it to 20 eggs. We're going to start there. It should be about enough to do 4 trays. Theoretically, you can do 5 to 6 eggs per trays from what I read. But we're going to try. We'll pour it in. These are new liners. See how they work. One thing I'll tell everybody, if you get 1 or 2 small pieces of shell, I wouldn't worry too bad about it. It's going to get blended up to the point you're not going to notice it, and the shell is not going to hurt you when you cook it up and it's powdered. If you get large chunks, one point you might see me reach in there. I did get a large chunk of shell and I went ahead and pulled that out. So I'll wash my hands, run the blender, and we'll see you here in a minute. So we're back, and go ahead and put the lid on our blender here. So we're going to do some whipping. We're going to start this on probably the lowest speed. Alright, we hit the minute mark. I'm going to go ahead, take this over, and we're going to put it into our dehydrator. Well, one thing to mention for everybody, 20 eggs. I got a fairly good sized blender, nice airtight seal on the top with a pour spout. So I can do 20, but it definitely filled it to the top once it was done. It started, at 2/3 and is all the way to the top now, up into the lid. So make sure your blender can hold it. Maybe start with a smaller batch the first time if you're not sure, because as they whip, you're getting a lot of air in them, which is great for what we're going to do, but really important that you have enough space and you don't spill all over your cupboards. All right, guys. So what we have here is I got my setup with my Nesco food dehydrator, American Harvest version. I have each tray set up with this Bright Kitchen silicone non-stick sheets. They call these fruit sheets or fruit roll sheets, fruit tar sheets. They got lots of names for them, but the important part is they have a ledge on each side, so it's not going to allow anything liquid to run out of them, and it's solid on the bottom, so that way you're not, of course, seeping through all the holes that would be in your normal dehydrator. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pour this mixture out onto these sheets slowly and carefully. It will be a little foamy, which is perfect. That means we got a nice blend of air in it. And we're going to pour this again slowly. I'm going to let this move around a little bit. One thing to make sure of is make sure you are on a flat surface. That will be very important to get this moved around, leveled out, so it's not pouring over any of your sheets. So I'm going to stop there for a second, set this off, and I'm going to try to just help settle this just a bit by just kind of moving this sheet around. And if I can't get all the way out to those outside edges, I'm okay with that to a degree. More important is that I don't overflow. So we'll settle as much as we can out to those edges, just giving it a little wiggle as we do it. You'll notice eggs, a little like water, and that they do like to stay grouped together. So if you ever drop water on a table, you'll notice it doesn't spread into 1,000 different areas. It stays in one large area and then runs in whatever direction that the flow is going to go. But it stays together in a pool or stream. Pretty standard out in the world for water. The scientific terminology for it, I'm probably not the guy to give to you. I call it goopiness as they go together. So there you can see I have this tray pretty well full up right to the top of the rim. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to move to my next tray. So next tray goes on. Good stable base, and I'm going to load my next one up. And I am in, I'm ready, I'm level, I'm in a good position. This is gonna go for about 10 hours. So we're definitely gonna have it sit for a while. I'm not gonna make you guys watch all that, but we'll come back at the end, show you what it looks like, and show you how we break it down in the end into a powder, and how I'm gonna seal it up into smaller individual size camping packages, cooking packages, things like that. So we'll talk to y'all in a bit, and we're gonna go ahead, get this sealed up, and we're starting. All right, so we're about 5.5, 6 hours in. Had the dehydrator going. I did switch the trays around once, so I moved it just exactly vice versa from where I started. So the top tray was originally the bottom tray, about halfway through that point. So just wanted to check it, see where we're at. We should still have another 4 hours to go or so to get to the point where we're dry and we can grind it, but I want to show everybody what it looks like right now at least. Shut that off and move that off to the side, and hopefully you can see that. So you do have a little bit of oil still sitting on top. You can see some moisture still in it, but you can definitely start to see these edges get to the point where they're crackly, starting to get a little brittle. If I push around, I get a little crunch out of those. So we're getting there. It's starting to dry. It's really awesome. But this intersection here, well, it's starting to get brittle. There's still quite a bit of fluffiness to it. Definitely still quite a bit of moisture in that. So we don't want to, stop yet. We want to get all this moisture out of here. We really want these extremely dry and brittle. That way you've gotten them dried all the way, and get them to the point where we're back to just add water to recreate some eggs. So what I am going to do is I'm going to rotate my trays here. So I'm going to go ahead and flip these around a little bit. You can see a little variation in dryness, but not too bad, pretty normal. The bottom one here right now still looks about the moistest out of all of them, and each time you rotate them, that's kind of the way it's going to work, which is why I go from top to bottom, because the top dries out the most, and then the bottom kind of is at the least point, at least in this dehydrator. So I flip them around. I'm going to go ahead, set my top back on, make sure I'm sitting nice and level and smooth, and we're going to kick her back on, and we'll come back in another 4 hours or so, hopefully get it to the point where we'll grind it up. I'll take you guys through the grinding process. All right, so we're back, and take a look. Right about 10 hours and 15 minutes total time on here. All right, go ahead and shut it off. We should be done. I have swapped the trays around a couple times during the process, and check some of the thick stuff just to see where it was as I went through it. And really what you want to make sure of, if you see this thick piece here, is that it is dry and flaky, that there's no moisture to this. If you notice that it's sticking real bad in places as you try to pull it out, it means it's probably not done yet. So we'll be careful if there's some spots that aren't done. I'll go ahead and put them back in, but we're going to finish what we can for right now, as it's getting pretty late in the afternoon or late in the evening here. So I just got a bowl. I'm going to go ahead real quick and empty these down into here, get the loose flakies off. So hopefully you guys will be able to see me do this well. I'm gonna stand up first. And we'll give this a go here. See, so I'm just gonna bend these. There's holes in the middle here. And shake this down in real quick, and we'll shake off anything that's loose. Like I said, anything that seems like it might be stuck still, I'm gonna check it and make sure it's not moist at all. So I do notice I got a little bit stuck here. So I'm actually just gonna move this around a little bit, flake it off, and take a look. And I do still have a little moisture down here at the bottom of this. So if you look, I'm gonna try to hold this up real close to the camera. You can see kind of that discoloration where that moisture is still in there. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna flake this bit off that's still a little moist with my spatula, and I'm actually gonna flip it over, and I have all that moisture right on top there. And what I'll do here at the end is I'll turn these back on for about an hour and let these pieces that aren't quite done finish up as they go through. So I'm going to again check on this one. Feels like most of this is pretty dry, but I definitely don't want to take a chance with anything that's got too much moisture in it, as moisture will definitely cause this to go bad even when it's sealed up. So again, I'm going to take this, carefully shake off what's nice and loose. I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to put this pretty near the bottom. Just let the air blow over it. Well, I'll put these trays back on. I'll put the lid right back on top here. We're going to start that back up. Now we're going to push this off to the side for a second, and I'm going to go get another piece of equipment. For this piece of video, I am going to go ahead and just shut off the dehydrator for a minute so you guys can hear me a little bit better. You'll see I have a pretty good portion of very dry, crunchy eggs down in here. But what they are not is they're not powdered eggs. Of course, they're big chunks and probably wouldn't dehydrate real well that way. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can try to crush this up, you know, by hand or in a bag and just kind of pounding it around. If you have a spice grinder, I actually have one. They work really well. My biggest problem is they take a little bit of time because they're not very big, so you can get a couple eggs worth in at a time. If you have something like this food processor, I'm going to use my chopping blade. So I'm going to pull out my extra piece here. I'm going to use my chopping blade down in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pour some of these down in. And then we'll start out with just a smaller amount, and then we'll work our way up a bit. Because as you can see, I obviously can't pour, and I'm already making a mess on my table with some dried eggs that I really don't want to lose. I'm going to try to help that down in a little bit more organized here. We'll see how I do. Alright, I think I'll stop there for a minute, and we're going to powder this up and see how that turns out. Ready? It's about to get noisy. Alright, so we skipped forward for a bit. Been grinding for about a minute, minute and a half. And what I want to look at is my consistency here. So if I get down in here now, you'll notice this is a very fine powder. It's all been crushed up. It even looks like it's stuck together until you reach down there and you touch it, and you'll realize it is not. It is just a complete powder that honestly, as it spins around, gets a little compacted together. So this is really awesome. This is exactly what I'm looking for as far as this goes. And so I got a lot more to process, but I'm not going to make you guys watch all that on video. What I do want to show you, though, is one of the ways that we keep this afterwards. And so what I have here is I actually have a vacuum seal bag. And I actually cut this bag for something else. I ended up not using it, so it's probably a little taller than what I need. But what I've done is I've vacuum sealed across the bottom to make a nice seal. And then I turned it sideways and ran it separate times through on my sealer just to do the sealing strip. What that does is it divides this bag. So this bag is now 5 nice deep wells here. About the same size as one of the frozen popsicles that you'd get. And so what I'm going to do for camping purposes is I'm going to take one of my funnels. I'm going to pry this open here, hopefully effectively, and not look like a fool on camera for not being able to pry it open. It's a little bit harder when I'm trying to do everything myself and filming and everything all at the same time. And then we're going to take our measuring spoon. Now this measuring spoon, 1 tablespoon, okay? 1 tablespoon of powdered eggs to 3 tablespoons of water is 1 egg. So we're going to level this off here and make sure we got a nice level 1 tablespoon, and we're going to dump that down in. Okay, I'm going to shake this in a little bit here, get these down. It'll probably take me a little bit of effort to work these down to the bottom, but my goal is to get 2 tablespoons in each of these tubes. As I open them up, they'll flow down, and once I have 2 tablespoons in each of them, I'm going to vacuum seal this. And when I do, I will now have perfectly measured 2 eggs, be able to add 6 tablespoons of water, and I will be ready to cook my eggs for breakfast in the mornings. Once again, a little slow getting this down here just because it's not spread open. And you don't have to make these this tight, but it was important to me as I want to be able to take this with me in my backpack. I want it to be extremely, space conscious as far as that goes. So right there is my 2 tablespoons of eggs. Ready to go, vacuum sealable. So what I'll do is once I have these full, I'll go ahead and work these down completely as far down as I can, just to keep as much space as possible. Trim off any excess, and then I will vacuum seal these. And you'll notice that they then will be perfectly capable that I will cut the end open with my knife, throw it into some water, stir it up, throw it into my pan, and I will be cooking it over the fire. So a fantastic way to be able to do this. You can throw these into canning jars, things. Just store it in a nice, dark, cool place when you do it. And like I said, make sure everything's really dry. So again, I'm going to finish processing some stuff that isn't quite dry. I'm going to finish grinding up what I have, filling some of these up, and then I'm going to package some up probably into a jar and keep it in my cupboard as well, so I have extras here. In case you're ever out of eggs, I'll tell you, yes, you're not going to have a fried egg with these. But what you can have is scrambled eggs, anything that allows for eggs to be mixed up. You can use it in cake mixes. You can use it in all sorts of different recipes. You can even use it wetting it back down as a batter. If you got fish or chicken, you want to have a egg wash first. So lots of opportunities for you to use this. And again, a great way to store eggs if you get a really good deal on them, or if you have chickens and they're laying a lot, opportunity for you to store them away and have them for the future. So I appreciate you guys taking time with me, being part of this, and hopefully you learned a little bit. Thanks again. Check out all the other videos on 402 Outdoors. Like, subscribe. Check out our merchandise page. Got some cool merchandise out there for you. If you're interested, you're around the area, you want to show something off, shows your state off, it's a great gear.